Hi there, it's Jeff. Well, you've just built your cabinet for a DIY project and you want to hinge some doors. Well, stick around and I'll show you a few different types of hinges that you can use and their applications, and I'll show you how to install these hinges with the help of jigs and without jigs. Okay, before we begin, I'm just going to run through a couple of different varieties of hinges with you. I've got here in front of me the two probably the most popular in Australia and probably internationally, and that is Blum hinges and Hettich hinges. Both very good quality hinges. I've worked with these two hinges for many years, doing joinery in kitchens and so forth, and it's like the saying goes, you get what you pay for. It's very good quality, good adjustments in them, you can get them readily, and they're backed by a lifetime warranty, so it's best paying that little bit extra for quality. The first one I'll run through is the Blum hinge, and of course with our hinges there's two parts to it. There's the hinge plate which attaches to your door and the hinge which attaches to your door. So the first one I've got here is a standard Blum hinge. It is a screw-in variant. Now they come in various different types. You've got screw-in, you've got knock-in, which has two plastic lugs and you knock it in, and you have the inserter range with Blum where it locks into position, but you'll also need two locating holes, 8mm. So for those of you that are just starting out and want to do your own cabinetry and you don't have all the fancy jigs or machines, these are ideal because you can just screw them in, and I'll show you how to do those with and without a jig. So those, you have the hinge plates. I tend to use these hinge plates with the plastic lugs, and you drill a 5mm hole into your cabinet side, and I do that with a jig. But if you don't have that and you don't want to use those ones, you can just take those lugs off and just screw your holes into those holes there ready for it to go. The second one with the Blum is a soft close hinge. It's integrated in there with the cup. So you can actually, the good thing about these, you can actually turn the soft close mechanism on or off, which for an example is handy if you've got like a tall pantry door with 5 of these hinges and you go to close a door and it takes forever to close because it's so big and you've got so many of these hinges on the soft close setup. You can actually flick a couple of them off so it closes a bit quicker. That's just an example of where you might want to flick that on and off, but very good idea. It's all concealed, and again, just really good quality hinges. I tend to use these a lot, probably my preferred one. Apart from that, it is the same variety with the soft close, but it's just the face of it here. It actually, instead of seeing your screws, it has this nice. This one you're going to need a jig, and I'll show you how to do that one later, but really good option if you've got poly doors and you want to put the hinges on and the doors on site. And so instead of these sticking inside your doors and for transports it's a nightmare, you can actually clip these hinges on site and fit the doors. So for cabinet makers, we really love those ones. On the other side here we've got Hettich. By the way, Swedish, German, good quality. Hettich, I've only got two varieties here, but these are both soft close, and their soft close mechanism is on the inside. It's a gas strut. Again, lifetime warranty with these. Really good adjustments in them. But this is a screw-in variety, and as you can see, if I bring up the two of them, most of the varieties of hinges worldwide, they're going to have their own screwing pattern. So as you can see, if you're using a jig, it's going to have to be one or the other, a Hettich jig or a Blum jig. So unless you're screwing them in like these ones, which I'll show you later on. So soft close hinge, screw in. This is Hettich's variety of the clip down cover. Again, if you go on their website and you look at all the variants and stuff, there are options where you can actually just put this cover. If you've got hinges like this in your kitchen and you prefer to have that cover over them, there's even a cover that goes over the screw holes. You can actually get them separately and clip them on. So hinge plates, pretty much similar to the Blum ones. By the way, I like to use the variant with the built-in cam adjustment. It just makes life easier when you've got to adjust the door up and down. And I'll show you that later on in the video, but I always go for the cam variety. You might pay a little bit, 10, 20 cents a little bit extra, but it's worth it, especially on site and adjusting these things instead of getting a screwdriver and a hammer and having to knock them up and down, which is what we used to do. So that's just a quick rundown on the two hinges that I will be demonstrating in the video, and known worldwide, which are very popular hinges. So in our next video, we're going to show you how to start marking for your hinges out on your cabinet. The first thing you need to do is mark and position your hinge plates, and we'll see you in the next clip.
To start with, if you can mark and install your hardware flat on a workbench or table, it'll make your life easier, but if you can't, that's fine. You can do this process with the cabinet assembled. The first thing we do is mark out the positions of where to install the hinge plates. When you're working this out, make sure you leave enough room to put them on and just when the cabinet is assembled. You can use a combination square set to the distance from the top and bottom edge and draw a line on both pieces, as you can see. I have the two cabinet sides facing each other so you can mark both at the same time. The next step is to set the combo square at the industry standard 37mm and mark a line parallel to the front edge, and this will be the center line for the hinge plate screws to go in. Using the center line as a zero reference, I then mark 16mm on each side, which will give me a 32mm center for the hinge plate mounting screws. Then using a spike, mark a point which will help when drilling a pilot hole for the hinge plate screws. Once you've drilled your pilot holes, position the hinge plates and screw them in, and make sure you have the directional arrow that's on the hinge plates facing the right way, and that should be facing your door edge. For the other side, I'm going to show you this process using a jig I made up. The holes are drilled in 32mm increments and 37mm from the front edge, and the size of the holes are drilled to accommodate the spring-loaded 5mm drill bit. These types of jigs are readily available from hardware, especially cabinet making suppliers also. But I've drilled the 5mm holes to accommodate the hinge plate model called Expando, and that's the particular model of those hinge plates. It's called this because it has a plastic expandable lug that simply just press in, and once you've screwed down, expand and tighten. But if you don't have these style, then you can just simply drill a pilot hole and screw them in. Next, I line up the door with the top and transfer the hinge plate line onto the door as a reference for the hinge positioning to be drilled. It's a good idea to mark the top of your door as well as a reference, which helps when you go to clip your doors on your cabinet later. Next, you need to mark and drill the cup holes for the hinges. I've made a basic chart which shows the measurements from door edge to center to accommodate the material of your sides from 15mm to 19mm. My example uses 16mm melamine sides, so according to the hinge manufacturer, Blum, I need to be at 22.5mm. Then using a 35mm Forstner drill bit for your hinge holes, again checking the specs with the manufacturer, and according to Blum for these hinges I need to be at a depth of around 13mm. You can check this depth using a set of calipers, and also this process can certainly be done a lot quicker and more accurately if you have a drill press handy. Once that's done, I like to place the hinges into position and drill a pilot hole for the screws, and then the tip here that helps keep the hinges square to your door is to place a straight edge of some sort, like you can see in the demonstration, then using a spring-loaded self-centering drill bit which fits into the countersink holes of the hinge. The next step is to screw your hinges into place using the appropriate length screws, and you want to make sure here that your screws aren't too long so they don't poke out onto the face of your door. For the other door, I'm going to show you this process using a jig, and this one's the Blum Eco Jig, which is my preferred method. The great thing with this is that it allows you to drill the two locating holes on each side of the cup hole as well. This means you can use the inserter range and the knock-in also. It also has a built-in adjustment to suit your different thickness sides. Next, you can connect your hinges onto the cabinet hinge plates. Generally on most modern brands like this one, there's a small lever at the back of the hinge which you clip into place and also press this to release the hinge as seen. Once clipped on, you might need to make a slight bit of adjustment, and the screw towards the back moves the hinge in and out. The next screw to the right will adjust the door to the left or right, as you can see. You can also get a soft close attachment which clips onto your existing standard hinges, which save actually having to swap out your old hinge to the new ones if you wanted it to upgrade.
Well, there you have it. You can hinge these doors yourself at home using some basic tools. And if you did want to get the jigs for these doors to drill them yourself, look, they are out there to suit the different models of hinges that you can get. And my pro tip here is I probably would recommend getting those jigs if you are going to be doing a lot of these holes and doors yourself for a big project. And you know what? You never know when you might use that jig again for the next project, so sometimes it is worth getting. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, press like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in our next video.